NotebookLM is the next big thing. If you're not using it, you're falling behind. NotebookLM is an AI tool from Google that makes you smarter. Seriously, just using it for a month will make you noticeably more intelligent. But most videos on NotebookLM are very outdated. And that's because in the last month, the tool has improved a lot. So, in this video, I'll show you how to use NotebookLM. We'll look at the new features you most likely missed. And I'll go over how to actually use it to become smarter. Listen, I was early to AI agents, I was early to cursor, I was early to fine-tuning. So when I say that NotebookLM is going to be huge in 2026, just trust me. And if you want to have an unfair advantage over everyone else, make sure to watch until the end. Real quick, I'm hiring a second video editor, so if you know someone or if you are an editor yourself, make sure to apply. The link will be below the video. Okay, so to access NotebookLM, just type it into Google and click on the first link. That will bring you to the landing page, which looks like this. And here is Ondrej, one of the most respected people in all of AI, saying that it reminds him of the first time he tried ChatGPT. Yeah, it is very, very powerful. So let's get started. Click on Try NotebookLM, which will open the home page where you can see a bunch of featured notebooks as well as your own notebooks below. Now, if you click on See All, you can see all of the featured notebooks that Google suggested, but the best thing to do is to create your own notebook. And you can do that either by clicking this white button in the top right or by clicking Create New Notebook right here. Now, when you create your first notebook, Google instantly wants you to upload sources, which can be a bit overwhelming. So what I recommend you to do is either press escape or exit out so that you get to the main UI. And don't worry, you can attach sources at any moment. Now, as you can see, the main UI has three parts: left, middle, and right. The left side is all about the sources. The middle of the UI is the chat. So if you've used Gemini or ChatGPT before, you should be pretty familiar with this part. Now, the right side of the UI is the most powerful part of NotebookLM, but more on that later. Now, before we go any further, I must explain the concept of sources, because this is the bread and butter of NotebookLM. This is what allows us to do the context engineering inside of the app. Now, NotebookLM is a fine-tuned version of Gemini that's instructed to hyper-focus on the sources. So while a normal language model would give you some of its opinion and some from sources, NotebookLM is all about the sources. So if you mess this up, nothing else really matters. NotebookLM supports a lot of different types of sources: PDF documents, Word documents, Google Sheets, images, PowerPoint presentations, audio files, YouTube videos, website URLs, and just copy-pasted text. So a general rule of thumb is that the more sources you add, the better, as long as they are relevant to the topic you're discussing. Now, one of the most common mistakes that beginners don't realize is that the chat, aka the middle part of NotebookLM, is not included in the sources, right? So if you say something or you ask it a question, that by itself is not considered a source. So if you later then create an audio podcast or a mind map or video presentation, NotebookLM will ignore your chat unless, and this is important, you create a note. Now, you might be thinking, okay, David, but what if I don't have any sources on hand and I still want to use NotebookLM to upskill myself, to learn super fast, and to just become smarter overall? Don't worry, NotebookLM has the solution for this, and that is this box on the left. So as it says, it allows you to search the web for new sources, and there are two types of search: fast search and deep research. The fast search will look for like 10 websites and give you results within seconds. The deep research, on the other hand, is a new feature that will browse hundreds of different sites, and it can take like 5, 10, 15 minutes to do a really thorough analysis of the web to find anything and everything related to your topic. So first, let me show you a fast research, and we can do something like look up promising research papers in AI ML from the last 2 months. Boom, hit enter, and NotebookLM is going to research Archive, Nature magazine, and other publications where you can find scientific papers about AI and machine learning. And there it is. It took like 6 seconds, and we have 10 different sources right here. So you can click on import, and boom, here we can see our sources on the left. And you can see that each source is distinctly separate from the last, and that's because you can untick them, right? Now, here is where the context engineering begins, because anytime you untick a source, the chat doesn't know it. So pay attention to this small number next to the send icon. It says 8 sources, but if I tick these, now it's 10 sources. So NotebookLM is very strict about what is inside of the context window and what isn't. Now, anytime you add new sources, NotebookLM will begin analyzing them. And you can see that some of them are in red, and that means it wasn't able to get any data from that source. So for example, this one at the bottom, it says this source is behind a paywall. And you can clearly see which sources failed by the red highlighting above them. Anyways, once all the sources are analyzed, you'll see a message in the chat where NotebookLM gives you an overview of what all these sources are about. So here we can see the provided sources offer an overview of cutting-edge advancements and analytical methods within the field of artificial intelligence. Now let's say you only want to focus on a single paper, right? Such as this deep research paper. Well, first off, you would unselect all sources right here. Then you would select just this paper. And by the way, another cool thing is that you can click on any of the sources and this will give you a source guide, which is basically a summary, high-level overview of that source, what it is about, so that you can decide whether you want to be using this source or not. And then below the source guide, you can see the full text of the source, and yeah, there is a lot in this paper. So let's close that. And let me ask a simple question in the chat. Give me the main insight from this research paper and suggest 5 potential startup ideas built on top of that insight. And by the way, this is a brilliant way of getting business ideas and startup ideas is to read and research the latest research papers in AI, which most people never do. They just skip those and then think what different products and services might be possible given the contents of the paper. Now, luckily for us, thanks to NotebookLM, we don't have to be a scientist or a researcher to understand these papers because it can explain all of them in a simpler and clear way. Now, still, this is a bit too long, so I would say make your answer simpler and shorter. Boom. Now, as I said earlier, the chat by itself is not considered a source. So when later we use any of the features in the studio on the right, don't expect NotebookLM to know your chat conversation. If you want to include that, what you have to do is scroll at the bottom and below every message, every response from the AI, you'll see Save to Note. If you click that, on the right, below the buttons, it will generate a new note. And this is basically a saved version of the AI's response. However, if you want to take this note and convert it into a source, there's one more thing you have to do. Click on these 3 dots, this More button, and click on Convert to Source. And then on the left, we can see that this new Markdown file was created. And you can see that this Markdown file is exactly the same as the message, which means that we've managed to convert part of the chat as a source. Anyways, resuming from Ireland, the most OP thing you can do with sources and this concept is the search, right? So you have the fast research and deep research. The deep research is the new feature, but even the fast research is super good. And you can choose from either web or Google Drive. So since NotebookLM is developed by Google, you can have it search across your entire Google Drive, find different docs, sheets, even Google Slides, even presentations, and attach them as sources, right? Now, obviously web is going to have more info in general, and this is really how you get sources fast, and even just 3 or 4 great prompts can do wonders here. So for example, here we already have the 10 sources, but I'm going to do another prompt with slightly different intention. I'm going to say research interesting and useful AI ML papers about optimizations for inference and any new techniques in token generation and GPU optimization. Make sure the papers are from Q4 2025. This is even more specific because maybe you want to start a business that's like competing with, some of these neo clouds, some of these inference providers. This is how you get an edge. This is how you get an advantage. You put in more time and more research than everyone else, and you understand the topic deeply, and then you put multiple things together, right? So if you're looking only at a single thing, maybe you're an expert in marketing. There is many experts in marketing, but if you learn marketing and AI, you're going to have a great time. Same with sales and AI, same with software development and AI, just combine 2 different insights, and that's how you get the best business ideas and any advantage. It doesn't have to be a business idea. It could be a clever marketing campaign that makes your business 7 figures, whatever, right? Anyways, the new sources automatically get added, and now you can see that they're selected, and we can see 19 sources above the chat. But honestly, the chat is not the main thing. The main thing is the studio on the right. This is what makes NotebookLM special. Now, I already know some of you are thinking, but David, I don't even know what I would use NotebookLM for. And as I promised, at the end of this video, I'll show you the most OP use cases I've been able to find. And actually, a big part of my content consumption in the education niche, right, because I don't really watch entertainment content, has shifted from YouTube and human-generated content to NotebookLM, which is both scary and impressive because I'm also a content creator making educational content. But, hey, none of us are safe. The future is uncertain. We're probably all going to get replaced, so the best thing you can do is adopt fast. But honestly, I might make a whole video on this topic because it's a huge topic, and yeah. Anyways, NotebookLM has a ton of great use cases. As I said, later in the video, I'll show you some of the most OP ones. But first, if you join the new society this week, which means starting 17th of November, you'll actually get all of my NotebookLM projects for interesting AI and business topics. So for example, lately I've been studying game theory and how that applies to real life and business. Also, I've researched the best jurisdictions to start AI startups in, how you can apply Miyamoto Musashi's principles to business, life, productivity, the different strategies that successful content creators like Hormozy or MrBeast apply, and how we can replicate them and learn from them, and plenty of other AI-related notebooks. So everyone who joins the new society this week will get access to all of my notebook LMs, and yes, even the private ones. But not only that, another bonus that I cannot do every week because it takes a lot of time is that everyone who joins before Sunday will get a personalized short video from me. So this could be a question about your YouTube channel, business advice, help with your startup, or anything else. And no, this is not going to be AI generated. It's going to be me in the flesh consulting you on whatever you need help with. But again, this offer is time limited to this week only. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to join the new society. It's going to be the first link below the video. Now back to NotebookLM. So audio is what NotebookLM got first famous for, and recently it has been improved even more. So inside of NotebookLM, you can create custom podcasts on any topic, right? And this really depends on the sources. So as I said, on the right, you have the studio tab, and if you expand it, it's easier to access. Now, audio overview, this is the podcast, right? So if you do it on your phone, actually, it automatically generates the medium length audio. Now, I would recommend you click on the edit button where you can do a lot more. And by the way, NotebookLM is great on phone as well, but the mobile app is a lot more limited. So if you want to get the most out of it, make sure to use it on the web. Okay, so you can see that when you click the edit button, you get multiple things you can customize, right? Such as the format. Is it a deep dive? Is it a brief? Is it a critique? Is it a debate? These options might be useful in different situations, right? So let's say you're preparing for an important debate. Well, you would select debate. If you want to pitch a startup idea to an investor, you would select critique to know all the flaws and all the potential downsides of your idea. If you want to just have a lot of sources and you want to quickly get up to speed, you would select a brief. But deep dive, this is universal, right? You want to learn a topic deeply, deep dive is the default. Now, what's just as important is the length. So you can see here, right here, we have three presets: short, default, and long. If you don't select the edit button and you just click on audio overview, it will generate the default length you can see right here. And it is going to be the deep dive type or format. They call it format. But long is really OP. It's 20, 30 minutes podcast that goes into all the sources you have attached, super in-depth, and the podcast is a format of two people talking back and forth, right? So a male voice and a female voice. And by the way, one tip, if you switch to a different language, which there is a lot of languages like, Czech, Deutsch, English, Espanol, probably like 50, maybe more, maybe like 70 languages, pretty crazy, right? However, if you select a different language, so Czech, boom, you only have short and default. English is the only language, I believe, that has the long format. And then you can give it a system prompt, right? You can tell it what to focus on. So focus on papers that have real business use cases, for example, right? You can do like a long and then generate. Keep in mind that the long ones take longer to generate, right? Because the default is usually like 5 to 10 minutes max, usually around 5 minutes. The long one can really be over 25 minutes, so that's 5 times longer, so it takes 5 times longer to generate. And as it says, come back in a few minutes, right? So this is not instant. This is not a ChatGPT response. Generating an audio podcast with two different voices, and this is actually really impressive because you'll see in a moment, the voices complement each other. It's not just like one says a certain sentence, the other one says a certain sentence. It really is two people, in this case it's two AI agents or two AI avatars, talking back and forth and having a discussion on this topic and explaining it to you. So yeah, it is a completely different way of learning, and that's why I call it hyperlearning. Now, unlike a regular podcast, you can talk and interact with this one, and that's how you can get an even deeper understanding of the topic. So as these two male and female characters are discussing and explaining the thing to you, you can interrupt them, you can jump in and ask questions. And it really feels like you're a guest on a Joe Rogan episode where he has an expert on. Now, just to clarify, this is an AI image because I would be much taller than Joe here because Joe is very short. Anyways, hyperlearning with AI. This is a rough chart of what hyperlearning looks like. And really, like guys, I'm not over-exaggerating. If you're not using it to upskill yourself and to learn, you are falling behind. I don't care what the topic is. I don't care if you're improving at sales, at content creation, at programming, at your job, at dating, social dynamics, whatever you want to get better at, with NotebookLM, you can learn much, much faster. If there is a complex book that you've read and you fully don't understand it, load it into NotebookLM. And actually, pro tip, I've watched some videos, obviously, preparing for this video on YouTube, and a lot of YouTubers, they think there's like a secret if you combine sources, right? Because here is a limit on 50 sources, which most of the times you will not even hit that. But let's say for some reason you hit 50 sources, right? Obviously, you can copy multiple of them into a single doc and attach that as a new source, and you can do more sources. But this is actually only on the surface, only on the first glance. This is like a fool's errand because it's not good. What you actually want to do is you want to split sources into chapters, right? So let's say you have a book, PDF format such as this one, Cybernetics. You would do typically a single source for this, right? But this is a missed opportunity because what you can also do is you can split it into chapters, load each chapter as a separate source, and then focus on the chapters that you do not understand. And this is one of the biggest secrets that I've never seen any other content creator talk about, is instead of merging sources into together, you actually want to take a big source and split it into chapters or different chunks, and then attach each of those chunks as a separate source. Then you can select or unselect, the ones you want to focus on, and have NotebookLM explain just those chapters to you so that you get an ultra deep understanding of the material. Now, we have the podcast generated, so let me minimize these and let's play it because this is really, if you've never heard this, it's actually really good.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take the hardest, newest research in tech and, well, we distill it down to what you really need to know. So today we are wrestling with this core paradox in advanced AI. We need models to be smarter, capable of real research and complex reasoning, but getting there just burns.
Oh, this is just the female voice. You'll see in a moment that the male AI, interacts with her and goes back and forth. And this is really the magic of what makes it interactive and what makes it easy to listen to and understand. And it's not just running two AIs in parallel, right? You might think, okay, maybe you can recreate something similar with 11 labs. The problem is that Google has really built it well where the AIs interact with each other and it sounds natural. Just take a listen.
We're diving into a whole stack of new research papers that attack this efficiency problem from, well, every angle you can think of.
And what's so fascinating is just the sheer breadth of it. We're covering everything from new training methods that create genuinely smarter agents like this deep researcher framework. And then we'll dive into the algorithms that, compress those long thinking processes.
Now, on the right, you can see this interactive mode where you can actually jump in and ask questions. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hit play audio.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take the...
And if you want to join, you have to click the join button.
So today we are wrestling with this. Oh, hey, our listener wants to join in. What's up?
Yo, I have a question on which of these papers we should focus on. Which is the most interesting?
That is a fantastic question.
Oh, we love that you chimed in.
We're covering a whole stack of new papers.
They're all interesting for different reasons.
But if I had to pick the one that feels the most like a breakthrough...
I think we're both leaning toward the deep researcher framework.
Yeah, that's where the real AI capability leap is.
Yeah, guys, there is going to be a lot of people who develop parasocial relationships with this because there's, chatting with LLM is one thing, but having realistic voices talk to you with like perfect intonation, yeah, that's gonna one-shot so many people, and especially women, because women are the ones who are really developing this addiction to chatbots. Recently, there was in Japan a girl who married an AI chatbot, legally married with a ceremony and everything. People think like, oh yeah, it's gonna be the AI girlfriends, right? But actually, AI boyfriends is a much bigger market because what was the saying? It's like men fall in love with what they see, women fall in love with what they hear. And having custom voices that are personalized, that can do emotions, that can be convincing and persuasive. Yeah, guys, there's going to be some very not so good use cases. But luckily, this one, NotebookLM, is for learning, it's for educational, it's for making yourself smarter. And these podcasts, I just, as I was flying here to Cork, Ireland, on the plane, I was listening to multiple NotebookLMs, and yeah, this is the future of education. Absolutely. Personalized, AI-generated education that's like highly specialized on a topic. It's going to replace a lot of like lazy content creators. And I think the only advantage you can do as a human is to generate unique thoughts. This is what language models cannot do. This is what we humans can do. So if you are considering, either making your own YouTube channel, building your personal brand, writing LinkedIn posts, creating Twitter threads. If you're just gonna regurgitate other people's content, you're gonna get replaced by the NotebookLM 2.0, 3.0, whatever in the future. The only way you can compete is to have unique insights, is to consume different books, different inputs, and distill them in your head, think about them deeply, and then have unique thoughts and share unique perspectives. Otherwise, tools like NotebookLM are going to replace you. That's pure and simple. Now, as I said, splitting sources is great, but another thing you can do in NotebookLM is generating personal mind maps. So again, on the right, we have the studio. And by the way, I just collapsed these, right? So you can resize them however you want. So it is very flexible. The UI is nice. On the right, one of the new features is also the mind map. And this is very visual, right? If you're a visual learner, like all types of learning preferences, NotebookLM has you covered, right? You might be an audio learner, then you would listen to the podcast. You might be a text-based learner. You can just chat with the LLM, which is powered by Gemini, obviously. Or you might be a visual learner, which in this case, you're going to love these mind maps. And this is what it looks like, right? We have the mind map here. And we have a LLM inference engine, optimized efficient survey. And then you have 5 sub-points from this one. And like, let's see which one is interesting, right? Context challenges. Maybe we want to do optimization techniques. Well, you would click on this one. Boom. Not only does it open in chat, and then Gemini is generating response specifically on this, but you can see in our mind map, it's extending, right? So the tree is growing, and it has generated 5 new subtopics based on optimization techniques. So maybe you understand some of these, maybe you want to improve yourself at parallelism. Well, let's click on here, and we have another 4 more options, and the mind map is growing. And this is really OP for education because let's say you get 10 layers down, you can backtrack to see how you got there. And really make a strong neural connection in your own brain, the most powerful neural network in the world so far. And this tool is actually crazy for learning. And this is a clear example, maybe you thought you understood parallelism, but then it gives you 4 types of them. And maybe you haven't learned about tensor parallelism, right? Or fully sharded data parallelism, FSDP, right? And now we're getting real deep here. And actually, this is the last level here because it, again, depends on the sources. So depending how many sources and how well the sources build on top of each other, you can create different mind maps and chat with different points of the mind map. And again, any of the points, if you like them, you can save them as a note and then convert that note into a source and generate an audio, do more with it to understand it even deeper. Oh, and by the way, 2 quick tips. At the top, you can share the notebook with other people. This is very useful because you can prepare this for somebody and deliver them, right? For example, for a higher up at your company, you can do a research and just give him the notebook with a ready mind map, ready podcast for him to get up to speed. Or you can see the analytics once you have people shared, but you need at least for other users. So if you share it with your team, you can see different metrics on this, but this is only available on the Pro plan. Now, another thing I want to show you is the videos. So this is the cherry on top of NotebookLM, right? Because a lot of people know about the audio podcast, but the video presentations, man, it can create a whole presentation for you. So there's 3 more things I want to show you. Video presentations, flashcards, and quizzes. And again, this is more things, more tools for you to do hyperlearning. And again, I need to reiterate how important it is that you customize this. The future of education is personalized education, right? It's like asking a prompt that's in your own writing style, in your own medium. So it could be text, video, image, mind map, quiz, in your own difficulty level, in your own conciseness, in your own language, in your own speed. I mean, you can customize all the variables and learn much faster than you could ever before. I don't think we guys understand learning because all of us associate learning with school or reading books. All of these are such low leverage. Learning is going to take a completely new form over the next 5 years. This is a prediction that I'm willing to make. Bookmark this, you'll see. There's going to be some crazy types of learning even 3 years from now. So for example, you can create an entire guide on anything. And once you're happy with it, you can transform it by saying, make this for my team who are beginners. So if you are a manager of a team, you can understand the concept deeply and distribute it across everybody on your team and train up your team much faster than ever before. So if you're working at a company, and especially if you have people below you, do not ignore this because you can get such a high leverage of unlock, right? Even if you make those people 5% productive, more productive, that distributed among 10 people is 50%, relevant gain. If that was to your own time, instead of working 8 hours a day, that would mean 12 hours a day, right? So obviously that's much harder to do than boosting productivity by 5% of multiple people. And with NotebookLM, you can easily do that. And one of the reasons is that it uses Nano Banana to generate these visuals. And keep in mind, this is the worst it's going to be. It's only going to get better. Let me show you how the videos work, right? So if you go into Studio again, we can see that we have the video overview. And again, if we click on edit option, we have multiple options. We have the explainer, we have the brief. So this is like the concise option. Then we have the language, classic. And the reason for that is it comes with audio. So it's not just video, it's a whole video presentation. Guys, this really might take my job soon. So I really need to double down on these unique insights, and especially touching controversial topics. That's another way. So having unique insights and original thoughts, that's the first way you can differentiate yourself and make yourself irreplaceable from AI. But the second way is willing to touch controversial topics, okay? Especially stuff that is like against AI, which, since it's developed in San Francisco, is usually super woke, super liberal. If you have any opinion that's even remotely right of center, that already is going to be something that AI models are going to disagree with you on. And it's an easy check to see if the person you're talking to is a human or is a AI. You can just say a slur. That's another quick verification. These AI models, they don't really like to curse, right? So that's how you can prove your humanity. But again, have original ideas, really try to get unique insights. And number two, be willing to discuss uncomfortable and controversial topics, which the LLMs are afraid to do. Anyways, back to the presentation here. So next we can choose a visual style. Auto select, custom classic, whiteboard, some anime styles, retro. We're gonna do classic. And then the prompt, you can see, make a very, very short presentation explaining these AI ML papers. Use lots of graphs and math style visuals. Generate. And again, just like the audio, this takes some time, right? Text generation is the cheapest and fastest. Audio generation is the second. I guess maybe image generation is the second fastest. Audio generation is the first, but video generation is the most expensive, right? It takes the most compute. And so don't expect this to be instant. Now, as this is going, let me show you the remaining types in the studio, because we have reports. This is probably the most boring out of these, because it's just basically a Google Doc, right? It saves it like it's a markdown style, and it's just text. So we're going to skip it. We're going to do flashcards. This is much more interesting. This is an amazing way to learn flashcards. So number of cards, let's do fewer, or let's do standard. Level of difficulty, let's do easy, because these papers are complex. Explain the core breakthrough ideas in these papers. Okay, generate. So we're going to generate some flashcards. As you can see, you can be generating multiple things at a time in NotebookLM, which is very, very powerful. And really, like, if you sit down on any topic with NotebookLM for 60 minutes, you're going to learn that topic faster than anywhere else. Like, maybe the only exception is that if you had a 60-minute private tutoring call with the world expert on this topic, right? Which would cost you probably like $500 an hour. NotebookLM, you can get started for free, right? I have the pro version, of course, because I want to show you guys all the features. But you can get started with NotebookLM for free instead of paying a professional tutor, $200 an hour, $500 an hour, whatever. All right, so here are the flashcards. That took like a minute, so longer than I would like. Video obviously takes a little longer, so let's click on that. Boom, and as you can see, it's nicely designed. So in LLM inference, what are the two main phases of processing a user's input? Generate a response. Okay, so we need to tokenize it, because LLMs don't see words, they see tokens. And then we need to run the actual inference of the model, right? So have the weights generate a response. Let's see if that's correct. Are the prefill phase and the decode phase. Okay, so it's not really talking about the same thing, but whatever. Next flashcard. What's the primary function of the prefill phase in LLM inference? So I guess that's prefilling the weights with default values, and then it does backpropagation. Let's see if I'm correct. The prefill phase processes all input tokens into parallel compute initial KV cache. Okay, so my knowledge on inference is clearly lacking. So I should probably actually go through all these cards. But I'm also going to show you the quiz, because quiz is more interactive than the cards, right? So you can do a number of questions. Let's do fewer, let's do easy difficulty, and let's generate a quiz. Now, while the video presentation and quiz are generating, let me show you some of the most OP use cases of NotebookLM. First of all, as I said, debate prep. To destroy anybody in a debate, NotebookLM is a superpower. Not only to understand the counterpoints, but just overall to get the best arguments for and against whatever topic you're arguing, right? Sales. You can massively improve at sales using NotebookLM as like your, what's it called? Role play buddy. That's what I'm trying to find. But even before that, you can do a deep research on a prospect, right? So let's say you need to cold call an important client, and you only have like 5 of these clients that you want to cold call. Well, you can either just be completely lame and just cold call them without any knowledge on their company or their problems or their strategy or their team, or you can do deep research with NotebookLM, turn that into a podcast, listen to that for 10 minutes before the cold call, and suddenly you know a lot more about his company, about his industry, about his team, and what are the problems, what are their objectives, and that will give you a massively higher chance of closing the deal. So if you're in sales, NotebookLM is a must-have. Sensitive topics, right? So anytime there is something in the news, let's say like the Iran war, you don't know who to listen to, right? Like there is literally people saying on both sides that are like, people are lying left and right, especially anything that's politicized. And if you're not expert on the topic, you really don't know what's true. Well, guess what? With NotebookLM, you can attach 50 sources where 25 are for on one side of the topic and 25 sources are for the other side of the topic. And then you can have a really deep understanding of a sensitive issue that otherwise you would have to watch like multiple different podcasts, each of which is like multiple hours probably, to even make up your own opinion. But with NotebookLM, you can cut down that time from like 5 to 10 hours of research to sub 1 hour of research, and while having a deeper understanding. That's the crazy part. NotebookLM not only allows you to learn faster, you will also have a deeper understanding than if you do traditional, analog, slow learning. Another use case, as I mentioned earlier, is the AI research papers. And as a reminder, if you join the New Society in this week, you'll get all of my NotebookLMs. So make sure to join, first link below. But research papers are usually complex, right? If you're not a scientist, if you're not a researcher, you will have trouble understanding a lot of these. And since now NotebookLM can accept image sources, right? So this is, again, a lot of people don't realize this because most of these YouTubers skip over it. You can do like, for example, the transformer architecture or any of these. You can just take a screenshot, boom, there we go, copy this, go into NotebookLM and paste this as a source. Oh, by the way, just notice the source limit is 300. Okay, maybe that's dependent on if you have a free plan or not, or they just updated recently. Let's verify that. Yes, NotebookLM increased the source limit from 50 to 300, but only for paid users. Okay, so that's another reason why you might consider updating. This text below my webcam is the number of sources you can have in a notebook. And if you have a paid version of NotebookLM, you can do 6 times more sources. All right, so back to the image. You can attach that as a source, and you can see that I just dragged that in here, and it's scanning the screenshot. And yeah, that's another massive update to NotebookLM. You can attach images as sources. So while something, like this might be difficult to understand, if you're not an AI researcher, with NotebookLM, that's no longer the case. You can attach it as a source. And also, it can explain this, right? This visual illustrates the architecture design of a large language model, specifically comparing a standard transformer encoder-decoder structure with the more specialized DeepSeek V3 model. Boom, you can, each source has the source, guys, as I said, and then you can see the source in full. Really OP now, ability to add the images. Anyways, we have the quiz, so let me show you how the quiz looks like. Let's collapse this, boom. So you can see that instead of a flashcard where you click it and you see the answer, it tells you 4 options, right? So the LLM inference process is primarily divided into 2 distinct components. Okay, so it's the same question. So let's see if I remember it. The prefill and the code. Boom, that's right. All right, next. Which parallelization strategy involves replicating the entire model across multiple GPUs and splitting the data batch among them? Okay, it sounds like this. No, data parallelization. Okay. Yeah, I need to up my knowledge of inference, but this is pretty deep stuff unless you're working at a LLM inference company or like NVIDIA or chip maker. You probably don't need to know all of this. But hey, if you want to educate yourself, now you know how. But we also have the video brief. So, okay, let me show you a few more use cases before we get to the video brief. Chatting with biographies. So you can basically talk to dead people, right? You can talk to people like Isaac Newton, Carl Gauss, the geniuses that have lived throughout history. And you can discuss with them and understand their idea deeply. You can, Isaac Newton was a prolific writer. He wrote over 1 million words, so maybe you cannot get all of his sources. Maybe you can if you have the pro plan. But basically you can get all of his writings and then really understand his thoughts on a level that you won't get by listening to others who simply interpret his ideas. Another OP use case is traveling. So let's say you're traveling to a new city or you're planning to move to a new city. With NotebookLM, you can just do like 2 prompts and you can learn everything about the city, right? Best restaurants, history, random facts, the must-visit spots. And again, you can do that while you're walking at the airport because you can listen to it in your AirPods since it's a podcast. Now, I know, guys, you're going to find this one valuable. Understanding a code base. For all of you who are building software with AI, NotebookLM lets you reduce technical debt, right? You can paste in all of the docs, all the markdown files, and learn the code base 10x faster and really eliminate your technical debt, something that most vibe coders will never do. Okay, so let me show you what this video presentation looks like, because a lot of people don't realize that NotebookLM is capable of this. So let me make this full screen, and let's play this.
Ever feel that lag with your AI chat? Well, today we're digging into the secrets of AI speed.
So that delay you're feeling, it's not just the AI thinking. It's a pretty complex process.
Okay, guys, I have to pause it. This is already insane. This is going to speed up so much productivity, but at the same time, it's going to replace some jobs, right? If you're... Yeah, I mean, I really need to rethink my whole strategy because it's not clear at all. See, it's not only about like the products and services, right? Because, okay, if you're in business, you're worried about your business being replaced, right? If you have a job, you're worried about a job being replaced. But it's not just that. If you're in business, you cannot only worry about like whether your product or service will be relevant. It's also the money model. For example, SaaS, software as a service, subscriptions don't work nearly as well as they used to. Because now with inference, each token scales linearly with the amount of users. In the past, you develop a software and you distribute it to millions of users, and it's like basically pure profit, right? It's like the margins can be 98% because distributing that code to another person was basically free. That's not the case with AI SaaS, because each person is generating new tokens, so your cost is growing with the amount of users, which is absolutely eating your margins. So not only do you have to reinvent what your business does, what products and services you provide, you also have to invent new ways to monetize. So yeah, the future is highly uncertain, and if you're feeling the pressure and uncertainty, trust me, you're not the only one. I'm feeling it just as much. And again, I probably will make a whole video on this because it's a massive topic. But for now, the best thing you can do is be as adaptable as possible, you know? Be like water, as Bruce Lee said. As Miyamoto Musashi would say, be formless. Do not fall into any rigid tactics or, you know, past habits. Be formless, be adaptable. Constantly reinvent yourself and try new stuff, because stuff like this wasn't even possible a year ago, and now we have AI generating whole videos on any topic. Insane.
You see, AI inference has two parts. Prefill reads your prompt, and decode generates the answer.
We measure this speed with a few key metrics. And yeah, both.
Well, this is crazy. Guys, I know I'm making this video, but like, I'm still getting shocked by how good NotebookLM is. This is OP. This is like too good. This is almost like disturbingly good.
of those phases can create bottlenecks.
So, what's the solution? It's a specialized piece of software called an LLM inference engine. Unlike your general-purpose stuff, these engines are built for just one job: maximum speed. Okay, so how do they pull it off? They've got a whole toolkit of tricks. Let's look inside. First up, continuous batching.
All right, you get the point. So I'm not gonna go through the whole video presentation, but yeah, this is good. This is scary good. Not only are the visuals nice, easy to follow, varied, dynamic, but you know, there's two voices again to make it more engaging, and the explanations are clear, on topic. There is no glitches, no artifacts. Yeah, Google. Shout out to the team at Google, because you guys really cooked with this one. NotebookLM is OP, and if you want me to make more videos on NotebookLM, comment below, because there's so much you can do with this, especially the use cases is really crazy. And yeah, I could make a whole 1 hour video of just different esoteric and non-obvious ways to use NotebookLM to get an unfair advantage over everybody else. So if you want me to make more NotebookLM content, number one, subscribe, because if I see a lot of videos, a lot of people are subscribing from this video, that's a very strong signal that I should make more content. And number two, comment below. With that being said, hopefully you guys found this video valuable. If there's one thing I can encourage you to do, go and create your first notebook. Try this. Push through the initial friction and use NotebookLM for the first time. It takes 5-10 minutes max, and it will absolutely change the way you see learning. And yeah, it will make you smarter. That's one thing I can promise you. If you use NotebookLM, you will be smarter. That being said, thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful, productive week. See ya.